morning. I'm Mayor Tommy Roberts. Welcome back to the Mayor's Table. My guest this morning is Warren Unsicker, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Four Corners Economic Development Incorporated here in Farmington and San Juan County. Warren, welcome back.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Warren, I want to take this opportunity and use this segment to talk about what's going on with economic development in San Juan County and the Four Corners area, northwest New Mexico. I think it's something that our viewers are always interested in, and it's time for an update, I think.
Absolutely.
I think a lot has been going on.
Yeah, very much so.
So let's jump right into it and what is going on?
Sure. Well, we did just wrap up a rather big event called the Four Corners Future Forum. We held about 140 people from around the four-state region and numerous tribes from around the region to talk about how we could potentially be working together and find synergies to accomplish some broader, larger goals that we all have that may have been bubbling under the surface that we may not have realized that might interconnect and provide some opportunities. So that forum was very much interactive. We had people break out into groups to talk about specific industry sectors and how we could all be working together and what initiatives and goals and strategic opportunities may exist. And so a lot of good feedback from that. We were very excited to be able to host this. This is the first one of its kind, at least in the recent history of the area. And so we're pleased to have had that, but we're looking forward to kind of the next steps of this initiative.
Right. And what are the next steps?
So really, a lot of times conferences, you have a nice conference, you have some great keynotes, everybody gets jazzed up, but then, everybody goes off to their own business and, things stay more or less the same with a little bit more pep in your step. But this really is an opportunity for us to have some accountability. We are currently in the process of forming a consortium of the four states and the numerous tribes to again, maintain that accountability of the initiatives that were identified at the conference itself. Likewise, we're going to be holding two additional events in the not too distant future, both coming in 2018. But one would be to bring in the federal delegations, the federal agencies, your EDAs, your BLM, EPA, et cetera, to come and talk about how they can build into these initiatives that we're coming up with, essentially. What grant opportunities are there? What support structure is there? And likewise, to get our federal delegations from the four states to talk about what legislative opportunities are there. And so that will then lay the groundwork to actually have some infrastructure and support around these initiatives that are being come up with. And then next we'll hold another more broad conference, so a little more, providing information to the general public and those that were interested in getting involved and being a part of the subcommittees and groups that are going to push these initiatives forward. So,
well, we know that having been involved in a lot of planning activities over time, that planning is really the easy part of the overall process.
Exactly.
It's implementing the plan that is decided upon that is the difficult part of the process. And so it sounds though that this effort is just at the outset and that there's much more to be done. I understand that by partnering with the other states and the tribes that it may be much easier to obtain grant money?
Absolutely. So especially when dealing on a federal level, if they see initiatives that have a broader impact, that cover more of their constituency, that provide more bang for their buck essentially, they're going to be more apt and prone to be able to invest money into an area and to allocate grant funds to an area. If you have A, programs in place and things, kind of your ducks in a row, and B, that you have multilateral support from around the area. So one of our keynotes that we had there, Cheryl Lee Hills with Region 5 out of Minnesota, who has formed a multi-county consortium there, stated they've been able to attract nearly $40 million in grant funds to help with some of the initiatives that they've been working on in their communities. So.
I've long been an advocate for a global perspective in the context of economic development, and I think of regional development as being somewhat global. Yeah. It's not as broad as global, obviously, but nevertheless, we're not provincial here in Farmington about needing to have projects occur in the city limits of Farmington, New Mexico. Sure. We know that we benefit if there's something going on out in the county somewhere or in Aztec or Bloomfield. Sure. We'll derive some benefit. And I suppose the principle is the same here, that we're talking about a region that consists of 4 states, the tribal reservations, And I would tend to take the same view that something that happens in a positive way in economic development on the Navajo reservation is going to be beneficial to the city of Farmington.
Right, and those are kind of some of the takeaways, and let there be no mistake, there's not going to be complete and utter collaboration on every single aspect. So we're still going to have projects and our own initiatives that we're working on to attract to this area specifically. There'll still be a certain degree of friendly competition to attract businesses, but these are going to be more global initiatives that will have a broader impact, hopefully beyond one area or one state at a time. And now there may be some that affect one or two more than another, but it still looks to be more of a global perspective and things that lay the groundwork and create a landscape that is fertile for business and attraction to this area. So,
yeah. Well, speaking in a global context, segues nicely into my next topic that I want to ask you about. You and I, in early October, attended a symposium in Albuquerque that was a partnership between the country of China and the state of New Mexico, and it was very interesting. The purpose was to connect resources with ideas, and Chinese ideas with New Mexico resources, and New Mexico ideas with Chinese resources.
Absolutely.
What was your impression of that symposium?
Yeah, so I mean, this is something the Chinese government and business people view the U.S. as a sound investment. If you're looking to invest your money somewhere, the U.S. is pretty stable, and so a lot of these investors were looking for opportunities to invest in either businesses or business ventures or infrastructure or things in the U.S. that they felt would be synergistic with what their business interests are and potential to have high return on investment for them, but likewise had the potential to help kick off some rather large projects for the U.S. and for Albuquerque and beyond. And so the state of New Mexico stands to benefit from that opportunity by creating some of these partnerships. I've already been in talks with a couple of them about some infrastructure projects we're trying to accomplish. Likewise, I mean, we met people that were interested in film, film moguls from China that are looking for places to film and things like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of synergies that may not have been realized. Agriculture is another one too. They very much like American-made products from a food perspective too. So you look at some of the synergies and the opportunities, and we have a lot of things to offer from this area.
Let's move on to another topic. I understand that there are 2 or 3 fairly large companies in the community that are expanding their workforce, and they're looking for state incentives in that expansion effort, and Four Corners Economic Development Incorporated is playing a role there. Why don't you tell our viewers what that role is?
Elaborate a little bit more. So yeah, the JTIP Job Training Incentive Fund that the state manages is one that we work with our area businesses with to make sure they're taking full advantage of that opportunity when they start to hire. It offsets the cost of those employees for a good 6 months, paying for part of their salary. And so there's a huge opportunity if you are adding employees, and something that if you are looking to expand, please do reach out to us, because we're more than happy to help you with that process. But we actually this Friday will be we're meeting with 2 companies from this area that are going to be applying for and looking for approval for JTIP funds that could mean somewhere in the realm of 50 to 100 jobs that are expanding in the near future. So these are great opportunities, and something that I've spoken on before is that business retention expansion sometimes has a lot higher return on investment from a time perspective for us, and a quicker return on investment too, because attraction projects can take years sometimes to finalize all the details, get the buildings built, get everybody hired, etc. But these business retention expansion opportunities can have very near-term results and very insular results. These are businesses that know the area, have a vested interest in its success, and know the workforce. So.
Well, the good news is that we're seeing some activity that indicates that our economic base is expanding a bit. And when people are talking about creating new jobs, that's what economic development is all about. Economic-based jobs are those jobs that are high-paying, and the jobs are creating a product or a service that are being exported out of our community, and new dollars are being brought into it. So these bits of news are really good news for us.
Absolutely. So
another topic that I think we're all interested in, and that is P&M's Public Service Company of New Mexico's Integrated Resource Plan Four Corners Economic Development Service has been very active and playing a very active role in advocating for the continued operation of San Juan Generating Station beyond PNM's planned closure of that plant in 2022.
And we are continuing to work not only with our local partners, but with PNM and with Westmoreland and with our legislators and with various different constituents to do anything we can to either find a soft landing, is kind of the term that's been being bandied about, to make sure that we don't get left kind of holding the bag with this potential shutdown. So we're rest assured we're not resting on our laurels on this issue. This is something that we're very cognizant of and staying on top of. And if you do have questions, you can feel free to reach out to us to get some more details on what we're working on. So.
What about recruitment efforts? Anything going on there?
And so you mentioned, going to things like Albuquerque to go to this conference. I recently just got back from one out of Houston that was a Break Bulk Americas. This is a logistics and distribution conference. So went out there to kind of shop out our rail project that we've been working on for years and see if we can't get the interest of some short haul providers. I actually have a conversation with one later this week to talk shop about the potential there. Likewise, have gone to a couple other shows this year, the Outdoor Retailer Conference in Utah, as well as an aerospace conference and some others. So those are some of the recruitment efforts we're doing from a marketing perspective, really getting out of the area, going out to where the businesses are and trying to attract them here. So that's kind of the tact we're taking, and we were fortunate enough to get a grant from the state to help us with those efforts that helps pay for some of our travel costs, and so we're going to be able to hopefully do more of those in the near future. So.
In closing out this segment, let's focus a little bit more in detail on the outdoor recreation industry. Absolutely. You mentioned that you attended a conference, and the community as a whole has rallied around the idea that the outdoor recreation industry is something that could bear much significant economic fruit for the community.
Right.
What's happening there?
Sure. Well, just to kind of frame it up, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry that it does bring dollars from the outside in. You've got people traveling from around the states and around the world sometimes, coming to our area and leaving their money and heading back home, hopefully buying a bunch of products on their way through. But this is something that has been a strategic opportunity for us. We've been working with this Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm actually the chair of one of the subcommittees of that is around business attraction. And so right now we're working on trying to frame up how do we start selling the message of we're open for business for outdoor industry. And so that's kind of the next step for us, is really setting that stage of, yes, you want to start an outdoor business, here's everything we have to offer and here's what we're working on right now. So we're drafting kind of some media releases around that. And likewise, working with this regional consortium, one of the things that came out of that was a talk of a four-state branding even. The Four Corners is a huge brand. It's an international treasure that people can travel to take advantage of, and it's a great branding mechanism that we can potentially utilize in concert with our Journey brands and the other brands in the area. So,
Warren, I want to thank you for being my guest this morning on the Mayor's Table. Also want to thank you for your leadership in the economic development area and arena. It's a big job. It's a slow process.
Sure.
It seems slow much of the time, but we see progress being made.
Absolutely.
You're leading that effort. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
You're a good spokesman for the effort as well. I think our viewers like having periodic updates, so we'll invite you back here in 2 or 3 months.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank all of you for joining us once again on the Mayor's Table. We hope this was an informative segment for you, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Monday.